This is KTVO's Good Morning Heartland.
And welcome back. For outdoor family fun in the winter, learn how to tap your sugar maple trees to make maple syrup and sugar. You can enjoy the experience right in your own Missouri backyard or woodlot. To learn more about the process, we have Krista Noel from the Missouri Department of Conservation to kind of break it down for us and walk us through the process. How are you doing?
Hey, Ella, I'm doing great. Thank you.
Well, great. Thanks for coming on. So first of all, what is maple sugaring all about?
Okay, maple sugaring is when you tap a maple tree to get its sap so that you can produce your own maple syrup. And it actually has a long history here in Missouri. As early as the 1860s, people would collect collect sap to make syrup because it was much less expensive than purchasing imported sugar. And the trees produce sugar in the form of starch in the fall, and it goes down into the roots, and then in the late winter, early spring, the starch is brought back up into the tree to produce new growth, and that's the sap that you're actually tapping.
All right, so now how do we identify a maple tree?
That's a good question. It has a really characteristic leaf shape. It's shaped like the leaf on the national Canadian flag. It's kind of a star shape. And then it also has a opposite growth pattern on its branches and its twigs.
All right. Now, is there a specific size and tree that we should be looking for, or how do we know about that?
Yes, it's best to use trees that are 10-inch or higher, 10-inch or greater diameter at chest height, which is about 4 feet off the ground. You don't want to use trees that are smaller than that because you can harm the tree. And really large trees, you can actually put up to 3 spigots in it to collect sap, but we really recommend you just use 1.
Okay. And when should somebody start doing this?
That's a good question. Of course, it's going to vary per year. But you really want to look for when your nighttime temperatures are below freezing, which isn't a problem lately, is it? And your daytime temperatures are above freezing. And the greater the difference between those two, the more your sap will flow.
Okay.
And in Missouri, that's usually late January to early February, but it can also extend into the first week of March.
Okay. And you actually need some supplies, so we'll talk about those. We actually have some pictures of what people need. So
yes, most of the supplies that you can use are at your home, but you can also buy them commercially. You need a spigot or a spile, which is what you put in the tree, and it's what the sap flows out of. And then you would need like a cordless drill to drill your hole. You only need about 1.5 inches to a 2-inch deep hole into the tree. And then you obviously have to have something to collect your sap. So you'll need a milk jug or a bucket. And then you'll need transportation containers because on a really busy day, you could actually get up to 5 gallons of sap.
Oh, wow.
So you'll need really large transportation containers to get your sap back.
And the picture that we have right now on the screen for our viewers, so obviously there's the transportation containers and then we have a bucket. Why is it tied to the tree? Is it because that's where you drilled the hole?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
It's where you drill the hole and you put your spigot. And it's heavy when it gets full of sap, so you have to tie it to the tree.
Okay, and how often should you be checking these buckets?
That's a really good question. If you use a milk jug, something small like a gallon or 2 gallon, you probably need to check it a couple times a day, especially if it's a high sap flow. If you use like a large 5-gallon bucket, you could maybe only check it once a day. Keep in mind though, if the temperature does not get above freezing, then you don't need to check your buckets, because remember, it's that difference between nighttime below freezing and daytime above freezing that causes the tree sap to flow.
Interesting. Okay, so once we've done all that, we've collected all of that stuff, the syrup, right? No, maybe
sap.
Sap. There we go.
Because you're making syrup.
And then you're going to make the syrup. So how do we make the syrup from there?
Okay. Well, in essence, sap is about 2 to 3% sugar, or at least sugar maple sap is, and the rest is water. So you have to boil off the water. You have to evaporate it. So you want to heat it at a really high temperature, and we recommend you do this outside because you can imagine how much water vapor, if that's in your house, it can cause mold to grow and peel wallpaper. But we recommend you do it outside, and it's a long process. It actually takes 40 gallons of sugar maple sap to produce 1 gallon of syrup. So it's a lot of boiling to condense down the sugar. And then when your temperature reaches 219 degrees Fahrenheit, that's when you're in the syrup stage. And you can purchase a high-grade candy thermometer for that, or you can purchase a more expensive hydrometer. But that's really how you know. You don't go by color, you go by temperature.
Okay.
And then it's really important that you filter your syrup once you have it boiled down and evaporated, because of potassium nitrate and other minerals is not always healthy for small children. So you need to use coffee filter or a commercial filter to filter out anything that you don't want in your syrup.
And I think we actually do have a picture of the syrup. So here are little containers, and that's what they look like once you're done. Now, what's the difference between syrup like this and the syrup that we buy in the store?
The syrup that you buy in the store has a much higher sugar content and other things. And in the photo there, your lighter color syrups are your higher grade syrup.
Okay.
And the higher grade syrup is your early syrup, like when you tap your trees early in the season. It has a more delicate flavor and it's lighter in color. And then as the sap kind of gets old, it gets darker. And it's still good, but it would be more useful for cooking than necessarily to put on pancakes.
Interesting. Well, this looks like a lot of fun. And we do have a step-by-step process available for our viewers. What we'll do is we'll link that all up. You have the little booklet.
Right.
We'll link up the online version on our website at heartlandconnection.com, and we'll also link up information with the Missouri Department of Conservation. Thank you so much, Krista, for coming on.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back.